Hello, you beautiful, amazing people. Welcome to The Haunted Ride, a paranormal and spiritual podcast, and I'm your host, Melissa. I'm going to try and keep this part short because this is a longer episode, and technically I'm about 20 minutes late on posting it, so I'm sorry about that, but it is a longer episode. I had so much fun with it. I laughed so much I had tears. It was so great. It was truly the perfect episode to start our 50th celebration. Laura, who you guys have heard her on the show before, she was on the episode titled The Butterfly Connection, and she also made our logo. She also was on, I read her email on episode 28, I think it was Spiritual Questions or something of that nature. She decided to help me celebrate and kick off our 50th episode. She's a complete and utter sweetheart. We talked about so many things that I had to make a list. So we talked about some more personal items like cookies, our favorite foods. We talked about songs that we find magical, such as she mentioned a Lizzo song and I mentioned a Halsey song and a singer called Elena Perez. We talked about meditation, mental health, spiritual health, muses, the balance between life and death, good versus evil, light versus dark, and all that kind of thought process that goes behind magic, shadow figures, an incubus experience, deities. We had some disembodied sounds, so you are going to, the way that I had to section up the episode was actually to break it apart into 4 different parts, because there were some noises that kept kicking her poor dog Bubba off, and so Bubba was barking, so of course I have to cut that out of the audio. But we did actually kind of catch a couple sounds, and I want to see if you guys can hear them. So there will be times when the subject matter changes, and the reason why it changed was because of the barking, and we, in between the barking, we were, chit-chatting and clamoring along as we typically would. But I did go ahead and keep the disembodied noises in there, so I want to see if you guys can hear them. We also talked a lot about your intuition and how important it is to listen to that. We touched a little bit on astrology. I don't know a lot about it, but she actually did mention it, and we did kind of swing it in there just a little bit. We talked about the thinning of the veil, not so imaginary friends, fairies, and astral projection. So, yeah, this interview is actually 3 hours long. If you guys follow us on social media, I posted a picture of it to be like, hey, look, we're like hitting this off strong and right with this awesome episode. But it was 2 hours, 57 minutes, 40 seconds, and 70 milliseconds long. And I cut it down to about an hour and a half. So I definitely did take out some of our chit-chatting just because, it was more. One of the things that when I had Laura on the show, someone said to me is it sounds like we're old friends. And her and I have actually talked about that a lot. We will definitely get vibes off of one another. We'll think about the other. We do have a friendship, and she does feel like a very dear friend to me. And we've actually talked about the fact that we do feel like past life friends. I just love having her on the podcast. I love her energy. We had such a great time. I am actually going to skip the promo this episode. I am going to do our little Big Heads media bump because that's our podcast host. They took us on and they have amazing shows. Like, I am part of a podcast network with amazing, incredible shows. If you like sports, you have sports. If you like comedy, you have comedy. If you like true crime, you have true crime. You have a little bit of everything, and they do such a good job, and they really keep it in this really beautiful community that I love. And so I love being part of them, and so that will be here, but then we will get right into the episode. Now, I do want to let you guys know that normally we would have the what did I learn this week at the end of the episode, and I would kind of talk to you guys again. But I'm not going to this time, because we talked about so many things and so many lessons and so many beautiful learning experiences, and I don't want to detract by that by adding another one on. I feel like we both played off of one another's energy and emotions, and we talked about so many beautiful things. And the reason why this episode is called The Blueprint of Life is based on the very last thing she says to me in this episode. And it's so beautiful and such an amazing lesson that felt like the right way to end the episode, not the way I normally would. So, with that being said, I will have her keep our greeting. Because as I listed in all of these different things, you have to take care of yourself. I need you to stay safe. Love yourselves and love others. And always remember, don't let the ghost get you. Bye.
This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
You know what I've just decided? I have decided that the first person who clearly ever made cookies was Satan.
Oh, he had to be.
It was Satan, especially down there in that permanent oven that he
I mean, he's got, well, you know, he can't be too bad down there because cookies are delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Cookies are delicious.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's all it takes, I guess I'm going to hell because there's free cookies. Free cookies. Going to hell. I'm sorry.
Well, I bet you that's why that phrase is, come to the dark side, we have cookies. Oh, I bet you do.
Out there and he's like, I know how to get these people. Free cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Cookies, tacos. Because I'll go for tacos, too. I have no shame in that. I love tacos. Good burrito taco. Ugh.
Yes.
As long as he's giving those two out, I'm done.
Guacamole and avocado and I have a very deep love relationship. And around winter time, I'm so sad because you can't get a good avocado. I mean, you can't get like, I don't know, Publix. I have to remember to cut part of this out of the audio in case someone ever from Publix listens to the podcast and goes, man, she shit-shamed Publix so bad. I'd be like, yeah, you guys are fucking expensive and your fruits suck.
Give me better fruits and I'll talk nicer.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
No, you're a customer and the customer's always right. It's a customer complaint. Now they can't.
I like it. Yes.
Cross your T's, dot your I's. Customer complaint. Your avocado suck.
The damn avocado. Like, my thing is you're supposed to be able to ripen an avocado. Now, you can't always do it in the store, and that's okay. You just bring it home. It sits on your counter and ripens.
Exactly.
Lately, though, I bought an avocado whoa, geez, I don't know what happened there. I've bought avocados from Publix, and they never ripen. Instead, they just become like moldy.
Yeah, that was the last batch I bought. I was quite
fuck
frankly,
is that?
I had a tear in my eye. I did not want to throw these away.
Yes,
I was like, why?
exactly. How dare you ruin a beautiful thing such as the avocado? They are not. They're like $1 per.
Yeah, they're awful, but they're so good.
They are. And mangoes. Mangoes are my other love.
Ooh, they are good. You know what? It took me a while to find mango. I mean, I knew what they were, but I didn't eat it. Oh my goodness, that was life-changing as well.
And if you make a good mango shake, listen, it will change your life.
Oh, I believe it.
It will change your life. But the secret is you have to sprinkle just a pinch of salt in there.
Really? Well, I guess it's one of those little sweet and tangy. You need that little salt to bring out more sugar. Oh. I don't really know how that works. That's witchcraft right there.
Oh, let me tell you, I make some good witchcraft in my blender.
Hey, you know, this cake's delicious. Toss a pinch of salt in there and it'll be even better. What? Okay.
Actually, I have something. So I was sitting here, I was like, what can I talk to Laura about? And I'm like, I have two things I can talk to her about. One is, now I know we talked a little bit about your meditation stuff, and I know you're still kind of going through that.
Yep.
And I told you about my meditation where I died numerous times, which was lovely.
Yeah, that was, I mean, my goodness.
Oh, I was terrified. Like, my guys were like, no, you have to go back and meditate. I was like, no, the fuck I don't.
Yeah, why would you? No, don't.
No. And what's so funny is, like, the thing is, I asked for it because when I did the meditation, I can't just meditate to be calm anymore. Like, I find calmness in the meditation now.
Mm-hmm.
And I never would, like, really set an intention anyway. I'd just kind of see where it took me and try to, like, you know, just find that calmness in there. But now it's not like you don't get to meditate to be calm anymore. You get to meditate to get messages.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
It's a purpose. It's no longer you in your state. It's you and and more roots to the cosmos, basically.
Yes.
You're more connected. You more roots have dug into you. I get it. I really do.
Oh, I know you do. I
Oh,
know you do. But I swear, sometimes they really don't give a flying fuck. They
Nope.
drive me nuts.
I absolutely know. I was like you, the past couple months have been really rough and I don't know why. Well, I have a few things. A couple of my work tools broke, one of those little things in life.
Oh.
But just overall, I mean, I told you, I was just blah. Everything was kind of just coming in at a very intense level. And almost meditation was, no matter how intense it could get, it was still important and very freeing at the end of it. Even if it was a 10 session, I tried to take something good from all of them. You and I were
Yeah.
speaking of that. And I did that, just for the fact that depression is funny because when you're like us and you listen better and you get depression, it actually affects that on almost I don't, oh, of course, depression can give you physical sickness, but how do I want to put this? It almost,
Like a spiritual flu?
yes, it is. And you're no longer just emotionally depressed about stuff. It is on an energetic level. And everybody gets that. And I think when it gets to that point, that's when we definitely need to reach out. I did. I went and saw, I don't know if I brought it up to you or not, but I actually went and told my doctor and started seeing a therapist
Oh.
because in order to listen, it all has to be healthy and in tune. And I told you, it just has been, whoa, not in tune with anything. I felt like an electric rod on a very high vibration that I almost couldn't handle. And involving that, you get stuck in your head, and of course you have your own issues. But when you combine the two, spiritual and your own emotions, it can be very overwhelming. So, I think the lesson out of these past couple of months I've taken out of all was take the time to meditate like you, whether it's good or bad, you got to keep going at it and clearing your mind, searching for answers, listening. And if you have to, for an additional help in it, go see a therapist. I mean, you don't have to, it's not something you have to do continuously. It's just something you should, on the other aspect of your mental health, clear out and vent. And just like you would sage, cleanse your area, cleanse it all.
Yep.
And like I said, I told you, I'm slowly feeling myself again because I really didn't. It was awful.
Well, is this before or after the Muse?
It was in between all of it.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of started there, and then I had my first message that I thought I read, and then I misread it, and it took me for a spin. But in between all of that was my own inner demons, Oh, yeah, we all got them. And they were and I don't know if it was because I was going through a change, which is very possible. I mean, your energy levels, chemical levels, all that shifts and changes in your body when you're tweaking it. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're tweaking it. It's enhancing, changing, adapting. And it all took its effect. It really did. But I feel really good lately. And I told you, I'm slowly getting there day by day. But I had to clean the whole house, everything. It all needed cleansed. And I needed to find my happy place, my center.
Yeah.
And almost restart it again. And a lot of that did have to do with my muse coming in because I think it was such a big muse. That is, it's very strong energy and a presence, almost overwhelming if you're not prepared for it, which I absolutely was not. Not at all. I was reading something totally different in my meditations and all that than what I should have been reading. And that happens so many times. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Oh, yeah.
How many times you meditate, if you write them down, if you record them. I know a lot of people that just auto record it, not auto, but visually with their camcorders, and they want to see what happens around them. And I knew one girlfriend that did that. And actually, I was really fascinated by it and her reason for doing it. But, I was not prepared.
Yeah.
Full out, I was not prepared. And I don't think anybody is. But when you start crossing into muses on a higher level, it's very shocking to the system. It really is. But I was wrong about it, and that's okay. I finally figured out the message. I was more or
Mm-hmm.
less learning something about myself before the muse could come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't figured out exactly how that's connected, but I am slowly. I think I told you
Yeah.
the other day, I think I'm slowly doing it. I think the lesson I'm trying to learn from everything right now is the balance between life and death. And that
Oh,
is,
yeah.
yeah, I've told you from the very beginning of our talks, that's always been a real problem with me. My grandmother passed away in her sleep, and that completely shocked me. I knew it could happen, but it was very unexpected. She hadn't been sick or anything. So I felt really robbed of life. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand how somebody could go be fine that day, go to sleep, and not be fine.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of resented death a little bit. I mean, we all do when we lose someone close. I mean, that's just part of the emotions of mourning, I believe. But I took it to a fear level.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the circle of life is really, it's scary, but it's not scary, and it's important. And I think that's the lesson right now I'm being taught, the balance of life and death. And unfortunately, I think I'm being taught the importance of death at the moment. And I'm taking it slowly. I'm healing from an old wound of my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and spiritually connecting with it, which is scary on its own because death opens up a whole lot of other portals. A lot
Yep.
of things lurk in that dark area that aren't good, but there's a lot of good to death too. Everybody has this,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about it. Everybody has this perspective of death, that it's all terrifying. And it's not, but there are things that lurk in the shadows.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I was always very leery on poking into the shadows. Here's a fun fact I haven't told you lately, you'll love. I have currently been seeing shadow figures in the side of my. Well, I've never really saw shadow people. I know they were there. I felt their energy. I've
Mhm.
never visually saw them. And, you know, every now and then of course, everybody has that. Oh, I saw something in the corner of my eye. No,
Mhm.
this is actually something black.
Mhm.
Color of gray smoke or black smoke. I can't even
Ooh.
describe it. They're black. They're black. They're shadows. It's crazy. I've never seen one.
Do you get like a feeling from them?
No, not yet, but they've
Okay.
surprised me both times.
Mhm.
One I actually thought it was one of my animals. And I glanced down and I'm like, none of my animals are in here. What just okay. That was a shadow cat, I think. Maybe
Mhm.
small, like a cat, maybe a little bigger, maybe a small dog, but in that size range.
Mhm.
And then the other day, I actually saw the side of someone's face and caught their shoulder and part of their arm as they were moving out of my peripheral vision.
Okay.
That was new. Very unexpectedly, like, hello, what are you doing? Of
Mhm.
course, we're getting near the thing of veil. So
Mm.
it could be my old cat and family members. Who knows? But it was the first, and I was shocked. I was like, not that I never believed in shadow people, but until you see them, you
Yeah.
just have to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is also why I feel like shadow figures, they're not all evil. I do feel like they come in different variety of shapes and sizes. I mean, I was sitting there, you saw me in the Discord group the other night when I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
think I might have summoned a succubus.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, or not a succubus, an incubus. And it's like, okay, well, that's probably not what you want to do, which is not what I wanted to do. But I
Hmm.
should have known based on it was a full moon. And when I happen to be singing and dancing, like I throw out a lot of energy.
Oh,
Like if
yeah.
I'm just in my, and it has to be like, I've noticed lately there's songs that are coming out that are like really hinting towards like magic, or they
Yeah.
have magic like deeply embedded in them.
Hmm. Or that new Lizzo song, Straight Says Goddess, and I love it. And I have shame in that I dance around my house when the kids are all in school to it. None whatsoever. It makes me feel good.
There you go. Well, what was it? I think I was singing, oddly enough, I was singing Halsey Graveyard. Like, that's what started the whole thing. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of hers, but because I thought she couldn't sing. But I heard her, I really did. I was like, she makes such awesome songs. But then
Yeah.
I listened to her vocals like when she does like live, like I think she did some live concert and she sounded like super fried. I thought was like what was going on. And so I was like, okay, I can't really judge if she's a good singer or a bad singer from that. It's just that she sounds really fried. So maybe when she rests her voice and kind of gets into her old thing, and I'll be able to really, you know, kind of see and hear her, like really hear her.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to her do this like little live concert. I think it was like at some sort of museum, and she sounded amazing and it was so good. And she just seemed like a completely different person. And I was like, okay, now I'm a huge fan.
That's what I wanted from you.
Yes. I was like, there's all these people keep talking about how amazing you are. And I want to believe that because there is something in like your songs and you do like deeply call to something in me when I'm listening to your music. But I can't find it when I've been listening to specific songs of yours. And those are the ones that are more oftenly performed live. And so I can't hear it there. But then she did Graveyard and she did Colors, which I know Colors. And I just was in love with her. So I realized that she has like 2 versions of Graveyard. One is her doing a time lapse of a painting. And the other one is a music video. I only feel the magic in the time lapse of the painting. That's the one that calls to me. I don't feel it in the other one. And I think it's because of the fact that she literally took the time to sit there and do this painting and then put it to the song.
Yeah, exactly. The concept of releasing creative energies is so strong. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I started listening to that, and then I think Elena Baraz, who she is an awesome singer. She sings a lot of like more seductive stuff.
Okay.
YouTube started playing her music afterwards, and it's just like the way her voice moves and stuff. So I was dancing, and this is a little awkward, but I was in the restroom while I was doing this. So I was dancing.
I dance all over no shame.
You have to. You have to. When the body wants to move, the body wants to move.
I dance all the time. My kids hate it, but I don't really care.
They just...
Yeah, they're young. I'm just an embarrassment.
Yes.
I don't do that. No. I rock it now. I'll dance in front of their friends. Get over it.
They'll understand soon enough. One day they'll just be like, oh my God.
I love my mom. She was awesome. Darn right it was. Weirdness and all.
If you're not weird, then you're not normal.
Yeah,
you have to be a little bit. Just a little.
I have to. It's be yourself. Just be yourself, even if it's weird. I always
Well, I'm sitting here jamming away to this seductive music, and it occurs to me, like, all out of the blue. And I'm, like, literally, like, I feel my magic and, like, my abilities, like, just, like, resonating so light in me. And I'm, like, creating little energetic stuff. Like, I created the mountains and had it going around me. I created, like, little stuff, and I'm having a grand old time by myself.
Heck yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just... like, literally, it just cut right through me. And it was like, do you realize that you're doing this on a full moon at 3:30 in the morning, right in the middle of demon hour, and in your bathroom, which, I mean, if you want to summon something, the easiest place to do it?
Bathroom.
And all of a sudden, I just see this very tall man who's naked, who is a shadow person, pop up at my closet. And he's looking at me like I'm a fresh piece of me. And I'm like, no, you need to go away. Like, shoo. So I literally, and I totally just ignored the fuck out of him. I was just like, go. And I'm trying to do my, like, stuff. And instead, he basically acted more like I was playing hard to get. And then he, like, moves, like, very quickly and suddenly appears, like, right in front of me. And I looked up at him and was just like, go.
Dude, take the hint. No.
Yeah, then he disappeared. But he still, like, tried to get me to, like, summon him for 4 more nights.
Oh,
4.
No. Sorry, dude. No,
4.
no.
And he was never, like, hostile or evil or anything like that. He was just attempting to be seductive. Because when I called him, I was using seductive energy.
Yeah, you were.
And so he's like, hey, hi.
Hey, lady.
And I was like, no, get the fuck away.
This is a rejection, sir. No.
Yes. And it took him 4 nights to finally, and I was just like, he literally, I remember because I hear voices all the time, and I remember I was like laying in bed and it was late at night, and he was like trying to get me to imagine him as my husband so that I would feel more comfortable doing things with him. And I was like, no.
It's not a Greek novel. No,
no,
sir. Take your elsewhere.
No. And I was just like, for real? And I think if he would have been like straight up bad or evil,
He would have just taken it.
well, no, not in that case. I would have been more forceful about it.
Yeah. Well, a powerful entity you go against, but there are terms when they just take.
Yes. Yes,
Horror,
exactly.
terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I hear horror stories. I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
Yes. And the other thing too is I am channeling a lot of Lilith. I can't really be mad at you if you pop up when I'm channeling your mother.
Yeah, you really can't.
I can't be mad at you. And I think that's also part of why I wasn't just like, you can't be here, you know, what I would normally say, no, you need to leave. I think that's part of why I just sort of almost really felt bad for the guy. Like, this was super accidental. I'm sorry.
It means to flirt a little bit. It wasn't for you. I was flirting
Yeah.
myself.
I was just feeling myself. It doesn't, listen, just because you are having a nice little seductive moment by yourself where you're dancing and singing to awesome songs that
Right.
like put you in like a great little headspace doesn't mean that you need a man
Nope.
to come by.
Nope. It's just like you said, feeling yourself, loving on yourself, which is just as important as any other form of love. Some self-love. And if it makes you
Yes.
feel good, dance away, baby. I dance all the time. Like I said, my kids hate it. I don't care. All the time. And when I'm now, like, they're all in school, so lots of music is played very loudly all the time.
Well, see, the one thing that I hate though is like after that, I became like super conscious about what I do at what point of time of night. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I hate that because it's normally not how I am.
Mm.
Because, how can I put it? So, I never channel just one deity. I always channel 2 to 4 at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
which is always great. And they'll always like come forward. And I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is just my experience. But I never truly feel like they like completely disappear. I feel like it's always like okay, well, you have other people that you can talk to. But if you ever like need me, just
I'm
like
here.
tell me and I'm here.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how I feel. Like,
You made the connection. It's like a fishing line
oh yeah.
or a spider thread theory. I imagine that all the time. The connections from one deity to another to your
Mhm.
ancestors. It all
Mhm.
around to you.
Mhm.
It's reaching out and building, well, your spider web, your connection, your
Yeah.
thread, everything. I love it.
When I first started like super exploring my spirituality when I was like 13ish, the first deity that ever came up to me was Athena.
Okay.
And she was with me for a long ass time. And Athena came up with, I mean, people change her name. It's Hecate, Hecate, whatever you want to call
She has
her.
a ton of names, yeah.
Yes, those two. They both came up at the same time. And then after that, I had Nemesis and Nyx, which that was a great time.
I love Nyx. Nyx is one of my favorite gods. She
Really?
is night. I like nighttime. I always have.
Uh-huh.
I love the moon coming up. I love the
Mhm.
stars. I love galaxies. They're so gorgeous.
Mhm.
And the whole idea of her bringing in the night, I love it. I love it. It's so good. She's wonderful. One of my favorites.
Yeah, it was very strange because Nemesis came in with Gaia,
Okay.
and Nyx came in with, I don't know why I can't remember how to pronounce the Dawn counterpart of Nyx. So I always get them in as their counterpart. So like, if
Okay.
one is like the goddess of the earth, then I get the goddess of, you know, the underearth or the underworld or whatever, or
Mhm.
nighttime or something. And so that's how, and I think it's to speak to like the duality of me too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've done some weird shit. Like I've done some crazy shit. I almost really hurt someone once, and I did not know that's what I was even doing.
Yeah.
I just knew when to stop doing it. And I
Yeah.
had no idea what I had done. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I had tapped into something that was much deeper and much darker and much more like, this is going to happen. And then I knew when to like stop it. And then I found out like 3 or 4 months later what I did. It was actually a guy that I had dated for a little bit. And then he really liked someone who was a very good friend of mine, and she was a complete and utter flirt. And I was like, well, if you like her, just go be with her. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not into this. So they were together for a little bit, but she was a flirt. And so she would flirt with him while they were together, and then she would flirt with other guys and tell him she did. And he, like, where I very deeply embody Athena, he very deeply embodies Aries, and she very deeply embodies Aphrodite. So that whole, like, yes.
that was just a clash of disaster.
Oh, yes. Yes. So she drove him crazy.
No doubt. No doubt.
Drove him crazy.
Like a drug.
Yes. And that's exactly how they were. And she knew, all three of us knew, they were insane. They were, when things were good, like, things were really, really good. When things were bad, yes.
Disaster. I have no doubt. They're clashing forces in the reality in the end. I mean,
oh, yes.
Both are high egos, first off.
Yes.
And high self-love on a level that I will never be at. And not in a healthy way. So it's toxic. It's just, what a bad combination. I would have called her on that right away.
Yeah. And I will say, though, it was very interesting because when I was around them, those two the most, is when I would find, like, other people who were embodying, like, other deities. And they would come up and they'd just, like, randomly tell me. And I'd be like, how do you even know, like, I'm into this? Like, we had never talked about it, nothing. And they would just come up and be like, hey, just throw this out there, and then leave. And I'm like, why would you even? And I was like, okay, now that I'm older, I recognize that something in them was like, I see you. And it was also validation for me, because it's very hard to, especially if you doubt yourself so much, turn around and be like, oh, wait, yeah, like, this great goddess or god, they are talking to me and they are trying to guide me, like, almost like, you know, what a person would think of as, like, a guardian angel. It's almost kind of plays into this place where if you have so much doubt and you don't think that you're worthy, it's very easy to be like, well, why me?
Yeah.
And so then it makes what they're doing harder. And so it was a lot of validation. I think that was probably the time I got the most validation until now in my life, really, where I just give it to myself and I'm like, I don't need that shit, I'm fine. But the guy who was very clearly embodying the shit out of Aries, he was very skilled at energetic manipulation to a point that I am too, where he could do it because we were not all in the same place. Like, she was in Georgia, he was in Pensacola, and I was here in St. Augustine at the time. And so there's, you know, quite a bit of distance, but, like, he had taught himself how to use telekinesis physically. So he could do it on a physical level at a close area, and on a spiritual, energetic level, states away.
That's insane. Wow.
Yes.
But that has a lot to do with Aries, though. I mean, he crosses across the sky. He is like Hermes. He's the traveler. He moves. And you know, well, you just had a weird combination going, because I always had this Aphrodite.
That
how do I
one.
want to put this? She has this ability to really, how do I want to put this? Not manipulate people in the sense, like, with the energy, but in the sense of she can calm you, like an aphrodisiac. She has that ability to make you open up, even when you don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
I have never I like Aphrodite, but I don't like Aphrodite whatsoever.
Oh, I don't like her.
I like the image of love is beautiful, but with that side also comes the mean, nasty side of love.
Yes.
The dirty side, the hurtful side. And I feel like she kind of embodies more of that side because it's empowering. It is. It's powerful. And I don't know. That's a horrible combination.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that girl, during that period of time, we were friends for like 8 years. During that period of time, she stole every boyfriend I ever had. Every single one. And she loved it.
Yeah. Forever she'd do it. If you just stay forever, it would be a competition.
Yes. And that's how she looked at it. That's why when he told me that he liked her, I was just like, yeah, at this point, I don't care because I'm used to it, which is not healthy for me as a person. And I had to deal with that later. I was just like, you know, the fact of, I felt like literally anything I had, she could take it from me. And so it was almost like a expectation that it would go away.
No, not with Aphrodite.
Yeah. So they had gotten into some huge fight. She started flirting with some other guy. She told him a bunch of lies that occurred, which did not occur.
Of course, the manipulative part of the love. Yep.
Yes. And so then he went from being upset at the fight to upset at the person to then realizing it didn't really happen because she pulled this, she like messed up her facts in the middle of it. And so then he just went from being like angry to full on rage.
I don't blame him. And I wouldn't make Aries mad. I feel he's very vindictive.
Yeah, no. He had threatened some things against her that even, I don't care what you're doing. I did not appreciate that. And as like the one who's embodying Athene and Hecate, no. And I was like, no, you're not going to do it. Like, I don't care how mad you are. And I know the fact that you can manipulate energy. And I know that like, if you really want to do that, you can. You're not going to do it. And he kept telling me like, yes, I am, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I actually was really scared for her. Like, I was actually really scared that he was going to hurt her from how angry he was and how crazy he was at this point. And so I remember if you looked at your soul as like levels and you divided it between like a light and a dark side, I went from being like my normal middle self to like the deep, deep dark. And I was like, no. And I remember mind you, I'm talking to this person through a computer screen. We are not in the same location at all. There was I don't know what I did. I just know that I completely zoned out. And then I remember hearing a voice go, enough. Like, you've done what you needed to do. And I was like, okay, cool. And I remember there was like a release when I did that. And then he didn't say anything to me. They got back together, had no problems. Him and I didn't talk, which was fine with me. I didn't really want to deal with like all this ridiculousness. Now, again, I'm 13. Like, this is weird
insane.
Enough.
Yeah,
this is too much.
This is too adult, almost. Yeah.
Yes. And so he turns around and she says to me one day, she goes, why is, and she mentions the guy's name, so scared of you? I said, he's not scared of me. She said, yes, he is. I said, no, he's not. And she's like, he's been scared of you for like the last 3 months. That's why he won't talk to you. And I was like, well, I didn't want to talk to him. What do you mean he won't talk to me? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know. He said you did something to him. It scared him and freaked him out. And he said that after that, that's why like he's been super calm with me. And I guess they had a whole conversation about like how the relationship had kind of turned. And she was upset because she wasn't getting that full like drama factor that she used to get. And he just wouldn't give her the anger. Yeah. And she said, can you just ask him? And I'm like, fine. So I was like, the hell are you talking about? Like, I didn't do anything to scare you. And he's like, yes, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't. He goes, yes, you did. And I said, I didn't do anything to you. It turns out that apparently when I had told him he was not going to do this and I went into that place and I heard enough, I had stopped his heartbeat.
Ooh.
He was in a chair. He could not breathe. He felt like he was choking and gasping for air and that he was going to have a heart attack for about 3 or 4 seconds. It wasn't even that long. And then all of a sudden it went away. Yeah. And he instantaneously knew I had done it. And I was just like, no, fuck, I didn't do that. I didn't do. And then I was like, oh, that's why I said enough. Okay. And that was when I learned, like, that scared me. That terrified me because that made me feel like, oh my God, I'm evil. I hurt someone. Like, I terrified someone to the point that, like, I changed their entire perspective about a relationship, about their behavior, about their personality. Like, that is terrifying. I don't want to do that to anybody. And so I felt like I was evil. And the thing that I had to understand is that, one, it's kind of like people now where they say like, oh, you shouldn't hex someone. Oh, if you do like anything that's like defense or protection and it like, you know, takes somebody's ill will and reverses it back on them and hurts them, that you caused that and you're a bad person for that and you're affecting karma and you're affecting their life and you're doing those things. Yeah. And they're not wrong. You are. But you have to say enough sometimes. You have to protect yourself. And do I think it should have gone to that extreme? No. Am I proud of it? No. Am I happy to know that I can do it? Yes, because now I know if I ever feel like that again, that's exactly what I'm doing and I need to chill. Yeah. So like, it's a learning process not only for that person, but it's also a learning process for myself too. Yes, and I think that sometimes people think that like, it's black and white, magic and your abilities and what you can do. And when you work with deity, there are deities that are assholes.
Yeah, there
Like,
are.
Apollo is an asshole. I
Absolutely.
don't like him
No,
at
he's
all.
a big one.
Yes, and I did that mythology episode on Apollo, and wouldn't you know, his ass, and that's the other thing too, I think people don't realize, is like, when you work with the universe a lot, and you channel deities, if you mention a deity too much, or you invest time and energy into a deity will sometimes invest that time and energy back into you. And so when I was on like the mythology episode, and I said something about like the fact that he was a dick, he didn't like that. So he popped up, and I was like, first off, you are not a guide for me.
Yeah.
I know that. Second off, you're coming to me with like some really like hostile energy. And third off, do not make me handle you right now. Because I was channeling like his mother. So do not. Like, no. And so he like calmed down a little bit, but he was still super hostile, and he was only here for like 3 days on and off. And I hated having him here the whole time.
Yeah. I don't blame.
I think people just think that, like, you have to be one or the other, just like they look at religion or spirituality or gods or goddesses as, like, one or the other. And it's like, no, do you realize that, like, a lot of times they do really great things, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean, I feel like when the Bible says something about we're created in God's image, I think that's actually really true. And I think that we wouldn't have the ability to have do both pure, good, like, amazing things and horrible things too, if whoever, whatever, all the gods and goddesses and deities that are out there didn't have those capabilities as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's what all the myths are telling us, is that they can do good and they can do evil. They can be jerks. They've done terrible things. Zeus is a horrible guy. Like, he can do great things. And I know I probably made him mad right now, but at the same time, he took a lot from a lot of people without asking or caring, for that matter. And they all have that ability. It's just there. And we have that same ability.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, when you're young and you don't know what you're doing, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I hurt somebody as well. I was on the bus and I was bullied because I was different. And I finally looked at the kid and I was like, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it was along the lines of, I hope you get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you get sick. I hope you get hurt. The next day, he was out of school for like 3 months. We didn't see him. He actually got sick. I don't even remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible. I felt terrible. And everybody on the bus said it was my fault.
Yeah.
Because everybody heard me look at him. I mean, they called me a witch I've always been called a witch, but I realized, like, it wasn't that. It was just the fact that I listened better.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that energy out there. I wanted him to hurt. I was tired of it. I was tired of being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And I let that out and I hurt this kid.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. I won't even friend him on Facebook now. Like, he sent me requests and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I just can't.
Also, I love that he sent you a request to
He
begin
did.
with.
This was just recently. I'm in my 30s now. It took him a while to friend request me. But if you ask anybody who knows me and went on the bus that day, they totally remember it. It's never left me. I did it right in front of people and they remembered.
Mm-hmm.
They remembered me saying it and I felt really bad. I mean, I did. I didn't know I did it. I didn't know how I did it. I didn't know if I could even stop it or if it was one of those I engaged it and now there is no stopping it
Mm-hmm.
type of deals. So I get it. I mean, it's, first off, you have to, I mean, mine was really quick. I automatically knew within 2 weeks that I had done something wrong because he wasn't in school.
Yeah.
And everybody else looked at me like, hey, he's not in school. What did you do? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
don't. No, I just stuck with it. I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I had done something and I wasn't sure what it was, but I had hurt somebody and they were now sick. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes our minds have a tendency to wander to other places.
Oh, God.
And next thing you know, you're almost deep into a story almost. And you're not even
Yep.
sure when you got there. And you're like,
Yep.
wait a minute. And then you don't even remember what you were thinking about, but you know you were so deep into something. And then you have to sit there and go, oh gosh, where the heck was I? And look around your house and at the people like, did anybody notice that I was in a complete daze and heard nothing? And I just burned the chicken or whatever you're doing. It's strange.
Laura, did you just laugh 2 seconds ago?
No, I did not. I might have. No, I don't think so. Nope.
Are your children somewhere like nearby?
Nope. Just the dog. I wonder if somebody.
Okay.
Bubba, is someone here? Is that why you're barking?
I
Yep.
heard like it sounded like someone laughed, like kind of just like a short like, huh? And then you were talking, and I was like, man, that's really cool if she could do those at the same time.
No, I'm not that skilled.
Okay.
No, I guess somebody's visiting us here for this conversation, but that's okay.
Hello, weird person. Don't be a jerk. Leave
Yeah,
the
as
dog
I
alone.
say, just don't interrupt or be a jerk. Don't shut my phone off. That is all I.
That's what happened last time, right?
Yes, don't do that. I didn't appreciate it. It did. It took like 30 minutes for my phone to turn back on. It completely was sucked bone dry, and I don't know why. I went from 40 to nothing like that.
I think, and I believe we were talking about death at that moment too.
We were. We were. Yes, we had just started that, and it was like, oh, I'll show you what death is. I'm done. That's what death is. Nothing. You happy now? Good. Move on. I was like, you know what? That's not fair. And then I just kept looking at my husband like, my phone has not turned on yet. Like, what is going on? This is insane. He's like, well, sometimes that happens. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I think you're just trying to keep me calm. But it was insane. It just gave out on me.
Well, I do know what you were talking about though with the I had that happen in my meditation. That's why. So I had been having like interesting meditations before then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being more, normally I would meditate every Sunday. And I think right around that time, I had been actually not meditating as much. And I think it was because I was also getting like a lot of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
You were almost meditating in your dreams almost.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like, my guides will knock me into things if I'm not doing them. So... I've just learned I don't get a say. I've just learned that I'm here as a conduit and I don't get a say sometimes.
Yeah.
And other
Yeah.
times I get a say and they laugh at me and then they still do it anyway.
Yeah,
But they tell me, they're like, hey, you have to do this. And it's really funny because I do this with other people too. And this is why I was like, okay, now I understand why we are in the same boat. Because I'll tell someone like, hey, if you keep doing this, this is what I'm going to do. And they don't believe me and then I do it. And
Yep.
I feel like that's what they do to me. Like, hey, you really need to do this. And if you don't do it, we're going to put you in it. And I'd be like, but like, don't I get a choice? And they're like, no. So
thing, I'll look at a friend and be like, yeah, don't do that. That's going to backfire on you.
mm-hmm,
I just tell them, don't do it. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to do it anyways. Yep, I told you so. It usually ends in I told you so.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they get a kick out of that just like we do sometimes.
No, they do. Yeah. They're like, really? Yep, told you so.
Yes.
Not saying it to be mean. I just, you'll just get a bad vibe off of something. If it's something that's going to backfire on somebody, I get warning signs like red flags. Like, don't do it. Don't let them do it. Give them a fair warning now, especially if it's somebody I care about or I've a friendship with or something or a connection with. If it's bad, in fact, they laugh about it. If I tell you not to do something, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm batting like 85% on accuracy.
Well, see, I struggle with that. So normally I can ask a question and I'll get a feeling about it. And
Yeah.
it used to be that I would either get I typically have headaches because I have low blood sugar, but I would get a pounding headache. Originally, that meant yes. Like if I was struggling to try to figure out exactly what I was doing and everything else felt calm, and I got the pounding headache, it was always like, alert, here you go. Like we're telling you right here, here's that.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is, depending on who I'm talking to at the time, that flip-flops.
Yes.
And I feel like they do that to shit on to me on purpose, to be like, we don't want you to always go based on that. Go by what you feel. Well, I'm trying to get a new car, and it occurred to me like how we got our house was completely based off of feeling. It was completely based off my intuition. I remember like I wanted to stay because where I was working was in St. Augustine, which is half an hour away from here, where I live. And so I wanted to, work in the same city that I live, or live in the same city I work in.
Makes sense.
But it was so expensive, and I was having such a horrible time trying to find anybody. And I remember that there was this moment of, I've learned I do this thing sometimes, or I used to. I don't really do it anymore. Now I've just learned that's not how it works. Where I try, and I try, and I try, and I try, and I get to this point where I just give up and go, you know what, universe? Clearly you are trying to tell me something right now, and I'm sorry it took me this long to catch on, you let me know when you're ready. And
Yeah.
then long and behold, everything falls into place.
Yeah. I do the same thing. Absolutely.
That's what made me start looking in Palm Coast where I am now. And I wasn't just looking there, I was looking at other places too, but it didn't really quite feel right.
Yeah.
And so we ended up coming back to Palm Coast, and then I found this house. We had two houses that I wanted to feel calm. That was what I wanted. And I felt that in a different house than this one. And I was excited about that house, and I was kind of like, this is a cute house. And I really did want to see it, but that was the house I wanted. Like, I was totally into it. And then I came here and I just remembered I felt energized. I felt like inspired and motivated. And I was like, that's not what I had asked for. I asked to be calm.
But this feels too, yeah.
Yes. And I was just like, why does it have so much energy? Like, what it's like a huge energy bubble. And it's just something about this house. And then I remember my husband and I, we sat down and we were trying to figure out, okay, like, which one's the right one to go with. And we had decided to put in an offer on this house. And every single thing we asked for, we got. And the other one, we would have had to put in more work to fix it. We would have had to put in more work because it was very outdated. They had done like the in-screen. I actually think it's an amazing idea, but the way it was done was horrible. It was a screened patio, but they kind of almost did it. They replaced everything with like windows. So that way, like, you could actually have like a sunroom. And then if you took off all the windows, you had a screen.
Yeah. I guess winters for you are way different than me.
Yep. You know, winters here is like, that's when I open up all the doors and I can breathe.
That's when I batten down the hatches and hide in front of the fireplace. Cold.
Yeah, we never get that cold, except we used to. Like in Jacksonville, we would get down into like the teens. And it was so bad because of the humidity. It wasn't even like, not to say that I thought the cold wasn't pleasant. I didn't. It was the like, I will seep into every single pore of your body cold because I'm humid and cold. And I will freeze you from the inside out.
Oh, that's the a moist cold is the worst. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It happens.
It is.
I hate it.
It is.
That was us the other day. I was telling you, we went down to 46 degrees. That was our high for the day. And it decided it was also going to sprinkle a little bit. So just on top of everything, it was damp and cold. Yeah, fire going on. Didn't care. Burned it.
Soup, fire.
I did make soup. Yes. I made, what did I make? I made cream and potato soup. It was like perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, that's my specialty.
Is soup?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm really good at soups. I mean, it's not hard.
You know what? I understand why you and your husband work so well. He makes sweets and you make like hearty things.
I do. I love making Thanksgiving dinner. Nothing makes me happier than to just cook really hearty, rich food. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. Love it.
Well, I like Thanksgiving. I enjoy Thanksgiving. But I don't like dealing with all of it in my family. It's always a pain in the ass.
We don't do Thanksgiving. I just stay home with my kids now. I kind of did it's not that I don't want to spend time with my family. I love them to death, but I am the black sheep. Therefore, they're very, they're awkward. They're awkward. So you know what? It's just me, my kids, the dog show. I watch the dog show every Thanksgiving Day. And I got to tell you, the holidays have gotten pretty great. I eliminated the parts I didn't like out of it. And it works. Everybody's actually happy with it. I'm a small family too. So when I say family, I'm only meeting like 4 people, including the 6 I bring. So it's, it is what it is. But we do good for Christmas. We all get together. But I think I told you I'm going to try to get up to the mountains for Thanksgiving this year and just relish in the harvest up there, just surrounded by nature. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Love my mountains. I love going up there. I love being surrounded by it all. Makes me feel good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I told you, though, I really feel like I had a past life up there. And I almost feel like I left a beacon for myself, like an energy beacon. Like, this feels good. Come back here and use this. And it feels good. It just feels all around good. It's really hard to put into words because it's on a very high spiritual level. And, everybody has different spiritual levels, but it really affects me in a good, happy way. The best way to put it is that I just feel all around good and connected and like I'm supposed to be there and like I have been there before.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel foreign in the least. And I love it.
I think that's like what we think of as home. I just
Yeah.
wish that I could find mine because I would be surprised if it's here in the United States. When I had the whole, let me see, I had a meditative session where I saw my higher self
Mm-hmm.
or a version of my higher self.
Yeah.
Honestly, like now I've just been working a lot with my higher self every time I go into meditative practices. And so her thing is you're basically here, but like let me just fill in the couple like little things you need like a reminder of, really.
Mm-hmm.
But this woman, like, she was the epitome of like, she was just like a goddess to me. Like she just and I ended up in the meditative session like becoming her. And that was really when all of my like meditation sessions really it had changed obviously for that one, but it had really changed. And so now what happens every time I go into a meditative session is I become a dinosaur, a very big dinosaur.
Okay.
My whole forehead becomes a dinosaur. I end up with, you have your third eye. Well, I end up with 2 additional eyes on the top of my head, and they're reptilian in nature, and they are vertical. So it's always very interesting because I'm like, how do you fit on my head? I mean, I've got a big head, but I don't know how you fit on my forehead. My forehead's not that big, but they fit.
Does it?
They fit. I don't know how. I went and I said, and this is what got me in trouble with the dying numerous times in the meditative session. I had said, the Akashic Records, this should be fun. And I had done that before. Like, I'd gone through and I'd done it. It'd been a very calm experience. It was very brief. There was nothing else that had occurred. This time, I was basically like, all I had said was there something in a past life that's holding me back? And I was going to use that as my attention in the meditative session. And then certain past lives that I've seen like dreams of, and it connected them all in like a time period.
Okay.
So I saw why I ended up here in this country. There was a past life of mine. She literally had left her home and she was either in Ireland and went to London and then was departing from a ship from London here, or I don't really understand, or she was born. I know she had a tie to Ireland and then she came to London and her goal was to depart to come here. And her ship drowned.
Oh my.
So I got to see that.
That's intense.
Yes. So now, before in the dream, I had seen her on the boat. I had known about this. I didn't get to see and experience her die. I just saw the boat no longer there.
Okay.
Much more pleasant.
Yeah.
And then before her, that I saw myself trapped in ice in the Arctic. I saw myself as a mermaid. I saw myself as Lilith. I felt myself be thrown out of somewhere, and I have really long nails, and some people like call them like claws.
Yeah,
that version of me had claws, and I felt her hunger because she didn't have anything to eat. And I felt her survive, and I felt her struggle, and I felt her move forward. And then I watched her somehow get swallowed up by the desert, and I feel like that's how she then ended up in the underworld. Yes, so I felt that. That was great. That one, and I think that's why she, like, came to me so, like, quickly afterwards, is because that one stuck with me the hardest. It was that one in the Arctic. Those two stuck with me the hardest. And then I saw why I even came to this planet. I saw that I was from somewhere else. I was not from here. I was just basically like, almost like a little child spirit. And I don't know why mermaid stuff kept popping up, because I have an odd relationship with the sea. I like the sea. I trust the sea. The sea is, I don't know, my mind doesn't understand the sea. I understand land more than sea.
Okay.
But I had it was like particles. Like, when they talk about the Big Bang and they say particles all combine together to make Earth, and particles somehow combine together to make microorganisms that have us, and etc. Well, I was made up of particles, but it was like light particles, and when the sun hit them, they changed almost like prism crystal or like a rainbow or something. The light hits the air and it makes these colors. Well, that's what I was. And I had a body, I suppose you would say, but the bottom half of me was very sea-like.
Okay.
And I was just a child. Like I felt like it was like a child young energy, you know, set off and experiencing the world while I was experiencing the universe, and I was swimming around and swimming around and swimming around and having a grand old time, and I was playing. Like I was playing with the planets. And then I stopped and I saw this cute little blue marble, and I was like, oh, look at that. That's so cute. Because it was the only one that had energy in it. And so I realized, though, that I couldn't touch it in the form that I was, because I much like the other planets, I would have smacked the shit out of them. So I made myself smaller.
Yeah.
And I walked around on the planet. And there were no dinosaurs. There was no anything. It was just like grass and water. And I just walked around, and that was it. And so, like, I got to experience all those things. Some of them were very great. But what I took away from that whole meditative session was my struggle.
Yeah.
And that I knew that in past lives, I didn't really have it easy. I knew that I was always searching for this place, this home, this something. Yes. And that was what I was trying to find in every single life. And I hadn't found it. And that was always how I ended up, or in the process of that search is where I ended up dying. But it really, like, changed my perspective about this life, because I've gone through a lot of horrible things in this lifetime. Yeah. And I had depression, and I didn't think I should be here anymore. And I didn't think I had a place or a purpose or anything. And I thought it would be better if I wasn't here. And I had to realize after that whole thing that actually this is the best life I've had.
Yeah.
Which is sad in a way, but it didn't feel that way for me. It felt sombering, like, how can I put it? When you've watched yourself die a total of 7 times in 11 minutes and 7 seconds, you don't worry about the normal stressors of life anymore. Money, bills, stuff like that. They're still there, but they can't stress you out anymore when you just watch yourself die 7 times.
Exactly. It's a reality check almost. It's like, this is pretty good, because it could be worse. You know, it's crazy.
But now, every time since then, whenever I go into, like, my meditative session, I become a dinosaur. And it's weird, because it's weird, like, the first thing I ever see, it's just the face. It's the top half of the face, and it's like these I just turned into a child for a second. It's these horny, like, eyebrows that appear on my head. And then they have little eyes, the little reptilian eyes that come out of nowhere. And then it's so funny, because I never take on the body of a dinosaur. It's just the eyebrows and the eyes. That's it. That's it. That's all I get. I don't know what that's about. I think I'm okay with it, though. I don't think I want to march around like a giant dinosaur. I'm okay.
You know, a little bit. He could have had a tail. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Tail would have freaked me out, I think. I don't know why.
Well, I think it's a metaphor, because I had a dream at one point, and during the dream I was super stressed out, and I knew in the dream that my little spirit power animal had come through and was protecting me from all these things. And it lifts this, like, crocodile up, and with it, which snakes don't do this, but okay. So it coils around it and, like, lifts it up. And then this huge ass dinosaur from the other side opens its mouth and chomps the crocodile in half. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, wow. I was like, wait, do I have any, like, spirit animal as a dinosaur? I was like, no, I don't think that's the case. I'm not sure.
You know what? They were animals, you know. Yeah. We can see their bones. I mean, yeah, it sounds funny because of our perception and what we've been taught about dinosaurs, and there's Barney, and there's the Land Before Time. We have so many conceptions of it. But they were absolutely animals, and we have, you know, there's traces of them still around in crocodiles and birds. I mean, look at birds. Birds kind of freak me out, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love crows and ravens, but don't touch me. I don't know. Just something about it. But see, that it makes complete sense to me, though, because they were animals. I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to have that connection with it. Completely makes sense to me.
Well, I don't know. I still haven't figured out if it's that I am a dinosaur. But it's definitely a metaphor for me. It's like it's because when I had that dream, and then I had the meditative session where I became like the high self or whatever. I realized that the dinosaur was a metaphor for me as far as, like, strength and will and
bigger than life.
Yes, kind of like that. Like, you actually can literally take something and for lack of a better term. Like, if you need to feed yourself, you'll feed yourself. If you need to protect yourself, you can protect yourself. If you need to defend yourself, you can defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have everything you need inside of you to do it. You just have to kind of believe it. And so I'm not sure if maybe that's why also my meditative sessions have changed, where they're not just, oh, a nice place of peace and calm, but instead, let's watch yourself die. And let's also, now, for instance, it's actually really funny because I know we had the whole conversation about Hades the other day, but probably like a 3 or 4, I wrote it down. I have to, because I write down my meditative sessions now. And I had to write it down. And my higher self was talking to me about like freedom, and that I was free to be able to fully embrace like who I was and my abilities and everything. And basically shortly after that, I turned, because whenever I see her, she's giant. Like she's like when you like think about the Titans, like she's that size. Like her ass is huge. And then I'm like very tiny. I'm very tiny next to her. It's like, oh, hello, little child self. And so it's almost like, and I wonder if like, it's kind of, I know some people talk about like your child self inside of you. And I wonder if it is like this higher self, like talking to my child self to kind of make it understand and all of those things. But my little self was suddenly appeared down in the underworld and was dancing. She was just dancing in the middle of the underworld, but she danced on top of somebody's body. That was interesting. Yep. And she was happy as a clam.
I'm just curious. Did she have shoes on? I don't want to step on a body. I think that'd be squishy.
No shoes. Just a long white dress. Well, my husband, actually, he is... So I have some Leo in my chart, but I mean, I'm mostly like, I'm a Gemini, Cancer, cusp. And then I think my moon is a Virgo. My ascendant is a Scorpio. It's very strange to me. And then I've got some like random Leo in my chart coming in. Okay. And so I understand his like dominant thing. Like I get it. He's very like assertive. And I'm typically more like, I'll just be here. Mm-hmm. But I've definitely had to like embody the small bit of Leo in my chart. And I think somehow like the Scorpio goes in there a little. And I'm just like, no, like if he's going to be dominant, like as his partner, I'm going to be the united front and I'm going to stand next to him. And if he's going to be dominant, I'm going to be dominant with him. Yeah. Which is always very strange for me.
Well, it's funny when you're a Pisces, it's funny that I read one time that Pisces out of all the zodiac has a little bit of everybody in them because they have to go through all the charts to get to Pisces. We're number 12. Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying because there is. I'm like, okay, I got to pull out my lioness and growl back. Mm-hmm. But the fish in me is just like, I just want to butt heads with you and go away. Like, I'm going to headbutt you and I'm going to swim away because we're fish. We really don't like, I'm not a confrontational person, but I can be. But I can be. And my daughter the lion in her, growing up with a Leo, man, they're hard. They're constantly trying to run the pack.
Yeah. It's just how they are. Like, that's how he is too. He's very, actually, it's really interesting because in the session I had last week during meditation, I put his lion back in his body. He does not know I did this though.
Oh, this should be interesting.
Yes. So I had a session, dealt with my higher self. We had some conversations, stuff like that. And this has been going on twice. So the first time I just saw a random ass tiger. And I love white Siberian tigers, but I was also like, you're not an animal of mine. I also have a giant squid now. Don't know what that's about. But she helps me travel. I travel with her.
Okay.
Yeah, so and this has come from the woman who drowned. I don't know if she turned into a squid. It was a very weird exchange. I saw her floating in the water, and then I saw the squid. So I don't know if some way in between that I was a squid, or if she met a squid and was like, hello, squid, as she passed away. I don't really know what, but like she will help me travel underwater to certain places, where normally I wouldn't deal with water. I'd just deal with land and doors to other places. But I saw the tiger, and I was like, why do I have a tiger? Yeah. It's weird. I don't understand it. Okay. So then I realized that really, actually, what that was in some of the other sessions I had was the fact that eventually I'm going to have Kali. And I was like, yes. Nice. Yes. Come to me. Please. 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 All 10 of you at once.
Come to
please.
me.
Yes. Yeah, which she's, this is also why I have Lilith and why I have Freya now, and I had, who the hell else did I have for, I had Gaia again for a little bit, and so this is like why I have them, because they make me work through the shadow parts of me, and I would also say probably the part of me that does get, I don't actually get as concerned about my abilities as I did before, but based on the whole situation that I told you about earlier with that person that I hurt, I do worry sometimes about how strong I can be and how my thoughts truly are projections and that they do have power behind them. And when I put my power behind them, they can happen even if I don't know what I'm doing.
Just watching it out. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I think it's okay to know that, but not be scared of it. And so, like, Lilith taught me that there was power in my pain, and once she did that, then Hecate came by and was like, hey, I want you to do this and this and this, and I haven't been able to completely do them yet, but she's being very patient with me, and she doesn't really care. She's just like, do it whenever you can, and that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's great, because, I mean, that's really not something you should force.
Yeah, and all it is she wants me to buy, they want me to set up, I think typically you would call it an altar, but I think it's more of like, I guess you could call it like an altar, but it's not with like traditional like altar items, I guess. It's just like little things like, you know, hey, have this type of crystal and can you put it here by your bed when you're sleeping? And it started with me getting black obsidian, which I typically don't like it actually, but I got into this particular one, and then Hecate told me that she wanted me to get, it's basically like, actually very similar to the amazing logo that you made me. It's a woman meditating, and it's made out of black obsidian.
Okay.
And she just asked me to, you know, don't pay an arm and a leg for it, nothing like that.
But look for it.
Yes. Yeah, okay. And if you can get it, she wants me to put it at the window above my bed, or next to my bed. That's all she asked for. Didn't ask for anything else. So, like, little things like that. But I feel like this whole season right now has been like a complete time of, you know, I understand my normal day-to-day magic. I understand how that works. I get it. I get when I have to do like more physical things versus more visualizations. What I feel like they've been teaching me is that, one, to find complete and utter balance with my shadow self, which I feel like I've done, and two, to also like, I can be very hard on myself. I don't really feel like this does occur when you're working spiritually, but I do feel like your guides will eventually try to make you not be able to be hard on yourself anymore, because things are ever changing. So, for instance, if you have a guide for a short period of time and then they go away, you can't be like, oh, well, why did they go? They told me to do this one thing and I never did it. Is it that? Is it? Yeah. No. They also have, guides can be around for multiple different people, and sometimes you need them for a period of time and other times you don't for it.
And again, I think you brought this up too, and I've had this happen to me, and sometimes they stay around too long.
Yes. Yeah.
And they end up doing more harm than good. And it happens. Nothing's perfect. You know? And I think the false thing with TV shows and stuff is that they make it seem like it's very cut and dry. It happens like this, and this, and that's it. And unfortunately, it is the exact opposite of that. Like the other day, I told you I felt the veil slipping and taking back. And it was funny because I told you I had just dropped my son off at the bus stop. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I was planning my day, what I had to get done, etc. And it was like, oh, hey, pay attention. I wasn't expecting it. Again, it's not perfect. There's no timing. There's no order. It is an organized chaos.
Yeah.
And it happens when it's supposed to happen. And guides, like you said, they could be there for a short time, a long time, and sometimes just for like a brief pop over. Like, hey, what's going on? This is what I want you to know, and I'll see you later.
Yep.
See you in a couple of years. Bye.
Yeah.
And it's different.
Yes. It's like it's strange because when I was younger, I had figured out that I had to accept being alone. Like I could be alone without being lonely.
Yes.
And I feel like with them that even though that I don't have someone who's physically there, I never feel lonely or alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, yeah, you don't have anyone standing next to you. And I'm like, that's what you think.
Yeah. Well, it's true. You know, when I first started talking to you about spirit guides, it made me go back and think to when I was a little kid, because I always had imaginary friends. Like I said, I was an only child. So, using my imagination and entertaining myself was nothing new. But I had imaginary friends, and I thought about it, and there was one that was very powerful and like I always played with, like no matter what. And it didn't like everything didn't dawn until I was older in life. And it was like, hey, guess what? That really wasn't an imaginary friend. There was someone with you. Don't know what it was. I know it was a guy. I named him Billy.
Mm-hmm.
And when things would get bad, I could talk to Billy.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember the conversations I had. I remember playing with him. I was a little girl. You'd think I would have made a little girl friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember thinking Billy up, you know? And when I started talking to you and I just started figuring out my own spirit guides, I was like, you know what? That might have been a spirit guide.
Mm-hmm.
And to a child, I took it on as that's my invisible friend.
Yeah.
You hear kids with ghosts. Well, my friend, it was a ghost. It wasn't an invisible friend at all. And it definitely wasn't a ghost. But because it was nothing, I know the difference.
Yeah.
I've always known the difference. Like in my head, I just always know. But I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I probably had a spirit guide when I was a kid because I kind of had a rough childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a rough childhood, you don't even realize that you're mentally reaching out for help,
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be a dramatic, rough time, but you're still reaching out for help. And I think I did. And my response was getting a guide to take my mind off things, keep me company, and keep me busy. And it took me a long time to realize that. And then one day I was like, you know what? Thank you, Billy. I don't even think that was your real name. I don't even know who you were, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me think back to the times where I was talking to myself and getting an answer back. Like, was that really you?
Yeah.
And it's funny because you may have a guide and you may not even realize it
Mm-hmm.
because it's just so, how do I want to say, its voice in your consciousness is so in tuned. It's hard to decipher, is this you or someone else? I've had that happen before where I almost couldn't tell the difference until I had to focus, almost meditate on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was, especially when I was first figuring stuff out, it was like, well, I don't know. What is going on? Am I myself? And who's answering me? You're not supposed to answer yourself. Are you supposed to answer yourself? Well, you're talking to yourself now, so now you're just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, we all go
Yeah.
through it. It's, I think, the normal process of it all in a weird, chaotic way.
Well, and I think because, like, I've never been part of, like, a spiritual workshop or a energy or medium or psychic or any type of workshop.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think they tell you, like, all the chaotic shit that happens.
No, they don't.
I don't think why would you? Like, you would do it if you want to be real and honest with people, and I'm sure there probably are people who do. But when I go on Instagram and I see somebody talk about, like, all this shit, and I'm like, but you're not bringing up the fact that, like, everybody's experience is different. Everyone is.
Yeah.
But there are classic things that happen. And it typically seems to be some sort of denial, because we all, like, the normal human thing is to think you're nuts. Then you turn around and then you at some point begin to believe. And then from there, it's a fucking roller coaster of sometimes chaotic bliss. Like, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different for everybody. I mean, when you talk about, like, deities, like, people always think, like, you have to make some big offering. And I'm sure there are some that they just sit there and they make you believe that because they're like, hell yeah, I haven't had an offering in a while, give it to me. So, yeah, they're gonna tell you, like, hey, it's kind of like, for me, if you're gonna give me free food, I'll take it. Like,
I told you.
I'm not gonna tell you I don't need it.
Sweets and I'll do whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. And you don't have to go through all of that. If you just, like, go, hey, I do this all the time. I mean, I did this with my ancestors. I lit a candle and I just said, look, listen, these are the requirements of the spirits that I'm allowing into this space right now. If you do not meet these requirements, you're not allowed to come. And that's it. And I had one that she was great. She was amazing. She, however, though, was a home person. She was a home person. She cooked, she cleaned, she did all of that. I mean, she was healed from all the trauma and the stuff that happened in her life. She was healed. But that also meant that during that time, I wanted to make bread and gravy and potatoes and cakes and pastries and a whole bunch of shit, which, yes, I would love to make those all the time, but I don't have time.
I'm gonna say, who has time? Did you know Italian bread takes like 48 hours to rise?
Yes.
It's delicious, but I didn't realize it was such hard work.
I used to make bread. I made like gluten-free bread. I would make gluten-free croissants.
That sounds
And
delicious.
it was awesome, but like legitimately, because when you did the yeast and everything, you had to wait like 2 hours for the stupid thing to rise. And you had to punch it down for like 30 minutes and then wait another like hour and a half for it to fucking rise. And then you're able to like have to knead it and roll it out. And then you're able to actually make it into the shape. And then you gotta bake it. And then you gotta wait for it to cool. And then you can finally enjoy it. It's a whole day process. I don't have time for that.
Nope, I don't either. Although I do like making bread. I don't have time for it.
It's too much.
It is. It's a lot of work. I love Italian bread. I just don't want to wait 48 hours to eat it.
Or, what is it? Oh, the pastry, not the pastry. Fuck. What do they make? They make like Napoleons out of them. It's like the flaky crust one. The flaky.
Phyllo?
Yes, that shit where it has like 720 fucking layers and you gotta fold it into 12 and then knead some butter into it and fold it into another 12. That's too much. No.
So good.
No.
I don't do it, but somebody else can do it for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never pass it on sweet. Ever. Or taco, but honestly, I very rarely pass up food. I like food. It's good. I've always liked the kitchen witch approach. Like they were like, I cook and I read one time like a kitchen witch is just somebody who goes in their kitchen and puts all their love and good thoughts into the food. Yeah. And well wishes into their
And you can taste that shit too.
Yeah. I love doing that. That part is good to me, but I just don't have time for that part. Mm-hmm. So you're getting something in the crock pot and I put some love into it. Eat it.
Yep.
It's crock pot. Eat it. I made it. That means I love you.
Yeah. I've had you on here for almost 2 hours, which I loved.
I know.
As usual.
Didn't die.
Huh?
The phone didn't die. I was so happy.
No, because we set off all the dogs.
I know. That was insane. Definitely go back and listen. Let me know what you hear, because I'm curious now.
Yeah, all I know is I heard that little, like, it was like, hee hee, and it literally, like, ended on, like, the high, and that's why, like, normally when you laugh, you then bring it back down, and that's why I was like, what's up, Laura? No,
well,
talking.
I think I've told you, I have a connection with the fairies, and that
you have a fairy who was enjoying the hell out of you.
I have no doubt. I think I told you, I'm a very tiny person to begin with. And I think if I was ever coming back from, I think definitely at one point I came back from a fairy to this world. Mm-hmm. And, or maybe not, I don't know, but they like me and I like them and I have never made them angry and I don't ever want to make them angry. Because I've also read horror stories of pissing them off. And I don't want to do that.
You don't piss them off.
No, but they've always been very kind and very guiding to me. And who knows, maybe one was visiting. That would be awesome. I've never heard one before. I've felt them, and I thought I saw one time out of the corner of my eye, kind of like a shadow person, but to hear one would be fascinating. I would love it.
If I can isolate the sound in here, I'll send it to you. If not, then I'll just play it, and I gotta remember where the hell it was. Well, I remember where it was because it was the first time your dog started barking.
Yeah, we got doggies barking. Well, dog. And then... Well, he was the only one till the last one there, and then we brought up the underworld, and every dog on my street just started barking. So,
oh, sweet Hades!
I'm sure he got a kick out of that. I'm sure at it, thought he was. I bet he thought he was the shit there.
I'm sure.
Now, want to talk about me? Watch what I can do. Remember, I'm friends with Cerberus.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I have deities who love him. I mean, love him to pieces. They think he's, like, amazing, which he is. And I think...
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the power is cool.
I think they respect him. I think they have a different respect level for him, I think is where it comes from. I think that, like, because some of them, I mean, most of the deities I work with they struggled. They struggled to get their power. They struggled to be known for it. And so the fact that he lives in a place with struggle, I think some of them, like for instance, like Lilith, I don't really think they've definitely had some conversations or stuff like that, but, she lives in a plane of what, near his plane. And so she has a good relationship with him. Or Nemesis, for instance, same thing, thinks he's awesome. Nyx, she's kind of but she respects him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I remember with Zeus, I had astraled. This is the first time I ever met him. There was this huge purple thing right in front of me.
Okay.
And I'm out here and I'm having a grand old time in the middle of space. And then I see this thing and I was like, the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And it was basically like, his response was basically like, one, you should know who I am. And two, like, you're in my domain. And I'm like, no, the space is not your domain.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, basically, like, he was super belittling and kind of like, you need to be put in your place.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, this thing came from inside me and it was like, I am older than you. Back the fuck off.
Yeah.
And they fought. Like, they had this whole thing. I was just kind of over here, like, I'll be over here. And after that, I very quickly learned that anytime I astraled, even, just like what happened the other night, which I did do it, I just also projected it. But I've learned that when I am using my energy and I am, like, projecting or just kind of, like, filling my space with my energy, that sometimes, because I also give energy to the planet and I give energy to the environment and energy to the elements, I will call things to me all the time. And sometimes, especially if I deal with deities and I'm dealing with, if I channel them a little bit or, they're just kind of, they're like, I'm being amused by what I'm doing, energy invites energy.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
So I've also, ever since then, I've learned, especially with him, to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because he's very quick to, like, if you disrespect him in any way, he's very quick to, and he can get to you. He's very quick to, like...
he's probably going to be mad about this conversation, but...
he'll be fine.
Whatever.
He'll get the fuck off. He knows better. He won't.
I respect it there. I respect you, but I don't like you. That is my piece with him. I'll respect you. I don't like, and that's fine.
Now, someone like Ra, if Ra came through, oh yeah, I respect Ra.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love anything in Egyptian history. That's one of my favorites. I definitely know I was connected there somewhere. I'm almost afraid to ask where because that was a very brutal time in history.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a very awakening time in history, spiritually and educationally. And I just, it's one of those things where, it's when you read about it, you're like, wow, I really feel connected. This is my zone. And you kind of stay with that. But I mean, you're right. If I was thrown into Ra, my respects would be amazing. I would be through the roof. Yeah. It just, they're like people. They are people.
They are.
You're going to like their personalities and sometimes you're not.
And I think people just go, okay, deity, like it demands respect and it is this extremely powerful force. And it is all of those things. But like you said, they're just like people. I'm sorry, but like, especially because, I feel that, and it's, you heard this when we were dealing with your muse and Lilith. Lilith doesn't call things souls and spirits. She calls them essence. And I remember that word, when she said it, she said that's the closest thing you guys have in the English language to what I'm discussing.
Yes. And I agree with her. It is.
Yes.
The word fits.
And it makes me feel like, I don't feel like there's anything to, I've always had this thing where whenever I deal with deities, it feels like we are one and we're a part of one another and we fit somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's times where I'll go inside myself, which is so hard to explain to somebody. And it's like there's this black space. And in this space, I see everyone. I can see every time that I've been around. And there are deities there. And I don't think that means that, like, I've always struggled with that because then people do this. Oh, so you're trying to say that you're a goddess or God. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is there is something that truly deeply connects me with these beings.
Yes.
And it goes beyond like my energy or my ability or something. There's some sort of line there. And I don't think that I'm the only one who has that line. I think everybody does. But I just have chosen to investigate it and be a part of it and allow it, where other times people go, no.
Well, again, when you talk about the Bible, we just call it spirituality, and we're okay with it because there's a normality around that. If you say somebody, I saw an angel, they're like, okay, because that's in our mainstream, it's in our environment.
Yeah.
It's been taught that it's okay. It's the same concept going on there, just with different people that, you know, aren't in our mainstream lives, aren't talked about on a daily basis. And they're not normality. So it's harder for people to just go, hey, that's a normal thing. Okay, cool. I believe you. And again, if it was just worded differently, people look at it differently. And it's so funny how that happens, how one word or just one book can change how people accept things.
Yeah.
You know, again, if it just a different title, different word, different book, and the acceptance is taken differently.
Yeah.
I've always been an open-minded person. I said people. I guess there's more than one of me. But I've always been like, I'll look at the whole picture. And even before I realized, you know, what I was doing, I liked it all. I liked to hear the idea of how people wrote the Bible and what they were thinking, and how people wrote the Qur'an and all of that, because it's all somebody's spirituality.
Yeah.
And spirituality, no matter what form it comes from, to me is just beautiful. It really is. It's your belief in something. It's your heart. It's your soul. And it's just a pretty thing. It really is. And it's a shame that, you know, so many times in history, it was looked at as prejudice, you know. And from Salem witch trials to Israel, it's a shame. But if you can stop and just read about somebody's religion, even if you don't accept it, you don't have to accept it.
Yep.
Just learn about it. It's fascinating. And it just gives you a different perspective on where people are thinking. On our spirituality, I think we're the lucky ones because we get to look at all of them.
Yeah.
And appreciate all of them and have a connection with all of them in some way, shape, or form. You know, it's just beautiful. I just personally think it's a beautiful thing. I really do. I always have. I never called myself religious, but I've always called myself very spiritual. That's just, I don't know. That's my foretaking on it. But, you know, again, just a changing of a word.
Yep.
And people will either criticize you and call you crazy.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And it's so sad. Because, like, I feel like one of the things I always thought about all the gods and goddesses is that, let me see how I can best word this. It's that, in a way, it wouldn't surprise me if they reincarnated onto the planet. And the reason why is because you have to update with the changing of the times.
Absolutely.
Look at how we view it celebrities. Look at how we view YouTubers. You spend all that time, people don't pray to them as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have to find another way to come down? Wouldn't you have to find another way to speak to somebody? Wouldn't you have to find another way to come through someone?
Absolutely.
So I feel like there's so many people who can get the messages that are out there. I listen to, I watch a choreographer, and she does a lot of like twerking videos and stuff. She's very into embodying the female body, embodying your sensuality, your sexuality. But then she does these motivational talks right before her choreography. And let me tell you something. Sometimes the shit she says, it just hits me.
Yeah.
And that there are plenty of times where that has been like what I do, the little, what I learned in this episode is because of that and what she said and how it hit me. And I'm like, okay, so who's to say somebody didn't say, you know what, you need to make sure you tell all these people this. You need to make sure you put this video on YouTube. And then little old me down the line finds it and goes, holy shit, why did I never think about it that way?
Yeah.
I think we all have the ability to influence and embody energy, and we do it so often, but we don't realize it. Sometimes it just, like you're saying, sometimes it just takes a word, but then people turn around and they go, oh, well, you say this or you say that, or you talk about this or you talk about that. and they can't listen to the other words around you. They can't listen to the other messages around you. And I
Yes.
feel like if people could understand that, for one, we are not perfect. None of us, when I do this podcast, I'm not perfect. When I go to work, I'm not perfect. When there are so many times that I could have done something better or done something differently. And there's a lot of times where I cut shit out of the podcast for that too. And I say, okay,
Yeah.
well, it's a little bit too much and I maybe should have phrased that better. But it doesn't mean that the rest of the message isn't valid. It doesn't mean that, like, the rest of what I'm saying is wrong. Also, I do think if we would spend more time in a healthy way understanding that we are not perfect in what we think of perfection. I think
Correct.
that actually perfection is us being the best that we can be in that moment of time. In this moment of time right now, I am perfect.
Yeah.
Because I am.
It's not ongoing. Perfection will never, you're not perfect forever. It doesn't work like that. It's like you said, moments, little moments. They say it's the little things, and it really is. And when people hear little things, they kind of blow it off. Well, little things goes into, like you said, the little victories.
Yeah.
The little moments where you're just really feeling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the little moments of failure, because what they say in a failure is a lesson.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're all not perfect. We'll have perfect moments, like you said, but it's funny when we all just think, well, I'm going to be perfect forever, or this moment's going to stay perfect forever. And it's just not. If it was perfect, it wouldn't be that way. Got to have ups and downs.
Yeah.
That's what makes it perfect. It's life in general is just a giant riddle.
It is. It
really
is.
And how you decipher that riddle is the outcome of it all. And again, if we just sit there and focus on all the negative things, that's what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get it in return. You'll have it in your life. And I think when we, like you said, change, or, we emphasize on the perfection, and I have to get this job, and I have to get this car, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, you're missing the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, and I know everybody said this, and I'm sure it's in a lot of motivations, but that's the lessons in the journey. Not getting there. Getting there, it's just, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Whatever you learned, that's over with now. So on to something new.
Because you can be driven in order to get somewhere, but you shouldn't be so driven that you miss all those tiny lessons, all those tiny opportunities in that journey. It is really that journey. And I think for me, like, I know my spirituality, honestly, really, and even like understanding myself and bettering myself and being a more wholesome person. I learned that by simply accepting that the universe seems to always come in and save me, even when I don't realize that's what it's doing. And I will push and push and push and keep being driven and keep being determined. And I think that, when I was younger and I went to Catholic school and I went to Christian school and read the Bible, people would always say, like, you have to, if you want something, you have to ask God for it. And you have to keep almost proving to God that you're worthy of it. And so at least that was, for me, that was my parents' interpretation of it, that they wanted me to understand. And so I was supposed to be driven, and I was supposed to do this, and I was supposed to be determined. And if I didn't have those things, then I wouldn't be worthy of any blessing I looked for. And now that I'm older, and now that I've kind of gone through, I've come to understand that that's not actually true. You do have, when someone talks about intention and manifestation, intention is the act of moving forward towards something, and the manifestation part is you put the energy in it to get it done. And so you do need to be a little driven. You have to have that thought. You have to want to put some energy into it. But when it comes to you and how it comes to you and why it comes to you, that's all from the universe.
Yes.
And if all you focus on is being driven and all you focus on, you think that's enough, it's not. And it will drive you crazy.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're in a very fast moving world. We're bombarded with as much information as you want to Google in a day if you wanted to. But like you said, if you're so driven, you're going to miss it because it's quick and it happens. And if you keep missing it, it'll just keep repeating itself.
Yep.
And nobody likes that. It's like the whole, try to learn the lesson once, okay? Well, and sometimes it doesn't, but
Mm-hmm.
if you keep ignoring it, it'll eventually smack you with a hammer, and it may not be the best result because you
Yeah.
bypassed it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
The spider web effect. I've always liked spider webs to kind of, I guess, in my own way, describe the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, if you stay on that thread and you decide one day, oh, I'm just going to jump off, you've missed 4 other threads. You're
Yeah.
going somewhere else now. It's never going to backtrack just because you were in the moment too concerned with something that was instant gratification opposed to a long-term gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people get those mixed up. Long-term gratification, in my perspective, is when I'm 80 some years old, I'm happy. That's
Yeah.
that's my long-term goal. How I get there, that's probably going to be a mess. But
Mm-hmm.
when I'm 80 some years old, it'll be a beautiful mess that I am so happy with.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'll try to catch as many messages, but when you ignore them and you bypass them, puts you on a path that you may not be great because you missed that opportunity and ignored it.
Yeah.
The blueprint of life.
I like that. And I also feel like I'm going to steal that for the title of the episode.
There you go. That's a great
So,
title. Actually, my grandmother used to say that all the time. She's like, I asked her, I think it was a faith question, what's your idea on faith and life? And hers was, God has a bunch of blueprints with your name on it. They keep changing until he's done with the final one. And
mhm.
then that's your main blueprint. But by then you're already built. So, and I took that as a kid, like, whoa, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's harsh. But as I got older, I was like, man, she was so right.
Can I just say, this just hit me, which means that I have to tell it to you. Do you realize that we're in October, in shadow season, as I so affectionately love to call it? We are super close to Halloween. The veil is thinning. Do you realize this whole episode has been about deities, the underworld, meditative stuff, spiritual
perfect.
stuff?
It's so
Like,
perfect.
and then you quoted your grandmother.
It's perfect.
Like you totally dropped the perfect like ancestral like zip line right there that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, she was very spiritual, even though she ignored the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But she was wise beyond her years. Like she say, you never have to go to a building to believe in God. God told you not to build things in His name. God
Mm-hmm.
is all around you. And she wasn't even a religious person. And it was like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
And then the blueprint thing, and I took the blueprint thing with me my whole life. Your life is multiple blueprints. You got to just pick which one, or change it, or draw it, or draft it. It's going to change constantly because that's what blueprints do, I think. I mean, I've never drawn up a blueprint, and I'm not going to pretend like I have. Because if I did, my husband would be like, you are very well off and wrong. That's not how. Please stop.